help you determine when a good time to be pregnant is, or get pregnant, and then stop the spermicide completely. Well, she had 4 kids in 8 years, and so I kind of figured out how to do that, I think. But anyway, spermicide, chemical is often called naloxone. It happens to be the only thing I'm allergic to. Of everything in the world is spermicidal jelly or foam. So on my husband and I, we got married in Maryland. Our first night was spent down in Washington, D.C. in a hotel right across from the White House, and then we flew to California. He flew out from California for the wedding, the Friday before our wedding. And so we drove down to the Hay Adams Hotel and get out and go into the hotel. And I said, so did you bring condoms or birth control? He goes, no, I thought you would take care of that. And I was like, I hadn't seen him in 3 months. And I was like, no, I didn't. I thought you would take care of that. So we hop on the metro. We spend our honeymoon evening going up and down the metro trying to find drugstores. And I'd never tried the sponge before. It's like a spongy structure embedded with spermicidal foam. I felt the next morning like I had the flu. I ached all over. And the next time we did it, the same thing happened. Well, for it to be effective, you have to leave it in for 6 hours after intercourse. And so I'm like, after 3 times, I know it's the, spermicidal stuff in there. So now, a year later, we got married in June. August, I gave birth to our first son. And I'm sitting on the side of the bed, getting ready to have an epidural in between contractions. And the anesthesiologist says, so are you, what does naloxone do? And I'm like, I'm about to have a baby, and you're asking me what the function of a spermicide is? I mean, this is a little late to be asking, are you trying to tell me something? And so I said, why? And he said, well, you have it on your chart that you're allergic to it, and I don't know what it is. So I said, okay, it's a spermicide. That just increases any time, if there's any leak in the diaphragm or the condom, it increases or decreases the probability that a viable sperm would get through. Okay, obviously with the barrier method, there's the vasectomy and the salpingectomy, the tubal ligation. So either of those would prevent the sperm from meeting. Then there are forms that keep implantation from occurring. IUD, intrauterine device. The older intrauterine devices were problematic. They stopped making them and selling them in the United States for a while. I used one for, about 1.5 years. It's a copper, it looks like a T, has copper wires, and that interferes with the implantation somehow, the current charges. But now they also have hormones included in them. So it's an overlap of birth control pills and the copper effect. For some, nobody really understands that completely. So if egg does happen to be fertilized, the major thing is the hormone, but then you have the backup if there does happen to be fertilization at the time. So now current IUDs have both the hormonal and the metal component, the copper component of the IUD. Then finally, if there is implantation, all right, we talked about the RU486, which is a blocker to progesterone binding. So the egg can be released, the egg can meet the sperm, fertilization can occur, implantation can occur, and up to 3 to 4 months, this medication is effective for blocking progesterone and inducing a medical abortion, if you will. Results in the separation of the now decidua instead of the stratum functionalis, the decidua basalis and capsule parietalis, and separation of those membranes, okay, rather than an actual physical scraping. So there's a lot of different ways. Most of them have to do with the female instead of the male. There is research going on looking at hormones that would inhibit the maturation of the sperm. Obviously, because the sperm mitosis is going on over and over and over, it's a little trickier to affect that without substantially affecting the male hormone levels. Okay. All right, let's stop there. I'm done. We have 2 case studies. Why don't you guys take a break, and we'll do the case studies, and then the rest of it is lab time, since you didn't have open lab on yesterday. We do have just a few new models that have to do with implantation, so let me show those to you now. I showed you some of the egg structures. I'll show you some of the favorites so you recognize this. Okay, so this would be the uterine surface, the syncytial trophoblast, and the inner cell mass right here. Okay, with the cytotrophoblast not quite settled down into the layer. So syncytial trophoblast, inner cell mass just starting the amniotic cavity, cytotrophoblast still out in the uterine cavity. Now we have the completely sunken down tissue. Here's our bilaminar disc with the amniotic sac and the yolk sac. The red right here, okay, is going to be the syncytial trophoblast, and the green, the cytotrophoblast. And then out here we have the maternal pool and all the stratum functionalis. You can't really separate the different types. So the best one for that is this one. Okay. So these pointed edges right here, this would be the stratum functionalis, decidua basalis, and this is the growing embryo placental tissue moving out into the uterine cavity. So this is going to be uterine cavity out here, and you really can't see the decidua parietalis. But here would be the chorionic villi. Up here would be the chorion levi. This fetal tissue down, this maternal tissue down here would now be the decidua basalis, and up here would be the decidua capsularis. Okay. And that's the important, this would be the amnion right here. Okay, sorry, wrong one. This would be the amnion right here, and yolk sac. But normally what I test on this is just the two chorions and the two deciduas that you can see from this view. This one is just a further view showing the chorionic villi, but I don't usually stress on this. Just it's there. And then we have those same models. If you hear, and this slides out, you want to. We have the sperm. Anyway, dress space, some of these come off, things that one doesn't come off. From here, you can see the placenta. I want you to be able to identify the fetal side versus the maternal side. So this gray membrane is what? Fetal, and the membrane itself is the amnion. All right, so if we turn it over and we see the cotyledons or the bumpy, bloody surface, that would be decidua maternal and decidua basalis. Okay? So what I've gone over with you is essentially what I would tag on any of those models of the lab exam. Okay, why don't we do the case studies at 8:30? I don't care who goes first, you guys can discuss it, toss a coin, fight over it, and then the rest of the materials lab time.